Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Cars with Big Boy Trev. I am Big Boy Trev.
My name is Mirigi.
And today we are at the home of Mercedes-Benz right in Kenya, DTW, and we're coming to check out the brand new Mercedes A-Class sedan. But first things first.
Let's check out the highlights of today's show.
This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev, we review the most accessible brand new Mercedes-Benz in Kenya, the Mercedes-Benz A-Class sedan. We analyze its cabin comfort, innovative technologies, engine performance, fuel efficiency, and of course, give you the value for money proposition against its rivals, the Audi A3 and the BMW 2 Series. Catch this and much more only on Cars with Big Boy Trev every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. only on KTN Home. So the compact luxury sedan segment is growing at an exponential rate. We've seen the likes of Mercedes-Benz, who are the leaders in the luxury business, filling the gaps of their traditional models. So the C, the E, the S now have sisters. You have the A-Class, you have the B-Class, and there are many derivatives that are coming into play. BMW have not been left behind. You do have, instead of the traditional 3, 5, and 7, now you do have the 1, the 2, the 4, the 6, and of course Audi as well, with the A3, the A5, and the A7. So all these filler models are trying to target a younger generation. Even from the design theme, the level of technology, everything is trying to target this young generation that is now growing into these brands. So today on Cars with Big Boy Trev, it's all about the brand new Mercedes-Benz A-Class sedan. Now first for Kenya, of course I'm going to give you a lowdown on how it drives, how it looks, the technology, and so much more. The question is, can it outshine the Audi A3 or the BMW 2 Series? Let's start this review by taking a look at the design face of this particular car. And we start with the design now. As you can see, it's a typical Mercedes face, the modern generation of Mercedes-Benz. So Mercedes have gone for the softer edges, and of course, as you can see, trapezoidal grille with the honeycomb mesh with the big Mercedes-Benz logo right here, denoting that this is a 300 star. Not forgetting, this particular car is very aerodynamic. The drag coefficient is 0.26. For those who don't know drag coefficient, it's basically how slipstreamed this vehicle is to ensure that you have good fuel economy. That is something amazing for Mercedes-Benz. That is the era that Mercedes are leading, the design phase of this particular Mercedes-Benz sedan. Now, as you can see, and we move to the side, this is a typical Mercedes layout. So at the front, you do have the typical A-Class design, and as you move towards the rear quarter, and of course the kink, you do see some touch of the C-Class, which is the bigger brother to this particular A-Class sedan. Mercedes have done and ensured that the design face of this particular vehicle on the side profile looks very coupe-ish, looks very stylish and sportish. Now as we move to the back, this is again where I want to see inspiration actually for the new Mercedes-Benz S-Class came from. Now, as you can see from this design, trapezoidal wraparound headlights with this LED signature, also denoting style and performance. That's a new design language. You see it in BMW and Audi. It's also on this particular A-Class sedan. It's time for us to check inside and see, is this a proper Mercedes-Benz? Does it have the tactile quality, the materials, the bespoke nature of Mercedes-Benz? Does it have the level of technology that you probably find in an S-Class? Join me, Rigi and I, as we do, of course, the interior and technology package courtesy of Cars with Big Boy Trev. So guys, you've seen from the walk around the design phase of this particular vehicle, the A-Class sedan. Mercedes are trying very hard to get the younger generation into the Mercedes family, and they're not actually playing. They've actually used the design of this A-Class to inspire the current S-Class that's being launched the other day, and we're going to review that on Cars with Big Boy Trev, hopefully very soon. Now, let's start with the dashboard. As you can see, so there are basically two layers. So the upper layer has soft touch plastic, and of course, it is separated by another piece that actually has some carbon fiber finish, and of course, the lower part has a textured finish. It looks tabular and then goes all the way down. Now, this particular design is interesting because it reminds me of the older Mercedes-Benz, the W116. This is a very old school design. As you can see, you do have also circular turbine air vents that have ambient lighting, which Mr. Mirigi is going to show you all about. These subtle features that make the A-Class sedan one of the most appealing small entry-level Mercedes anywhere seen in this country. Now, let's move to the main highlight of this particular dashboard. It's this MBUX system, which Mr. Mirigi is going to give us a lowdown. So this is the latest infotainment system courtesy of Mercedes-Benz. You do have a 10 and 12-inch display, high resolution. Obviously, as you can see, the gearbox console is quite big, and you can actually slide over and then it will reveal spaces where you can actually put your cell phone. And in the higher spec models, you do have a wireless charging pad, so you can charge your phone if it has wireless charging. And of course, you do have 2 cup holders right here. Now, I know you're wondering where's the gear shift. There's none in this particular vehicle because Mercedes have shifted the gear shift from the traditional position to a stock on the right side of the steering wheel, and we're going to touch much later about it. Now, that creates space for certain aspects. So basically, this whole aspect controls the MBUX system. So it's a touchpad, and you're able to toggle through the different settings, scroll, swipe, touch. So basically, it's like a computer. It's like a mouse, basically. On the left-hand side, you have the dynamic button. So basically, dynamic button is where you actually toggle through the different gearbox settings. So sporty, dynamic, and efficient, you're able to toggle through. And I'm going to test the different variations of this car and see the changes that gives this car that je ne sais quoi, the driving performance you're going to find out later on. And obviously, you do have the Mercedes Starlink. Basically, if you get stuck, you're able to call the Mercedes Center and they're able to rescue your vehicle depending on the country that you're in. So that we're going to discuss later. So obviously, over here on the armrest, you have a center console. As you can see, you have USB ports and of course an auxiliary port where you can actually put your iPhone and connect to the MBUX system. And let's move over to the second part of this review where we're talking about the instrument binnacle. So the MBUX is one, but obviously there are 2 screens. So on the main one, basically, it's a whole screen that you can toggle through with different settings. So it will give you all the details about what's happening in the engine. The steering wheel as well, as you can see, 3-spoke standard. And of course, Mercedes have put that je ne sais quoi we keep on talking about. So there's some stainless steel exert around the 3-spoke steering wheel. And of course, you have haptic feel buttons on the left and right hand side of the satellite button. So on the left hand side basically controls anything to do with MBUX. On the right hand side is the cruise control functionality plus toggle through the different menus on the vehicle information system that's here on the MBUX. Now guys, I've said so much about this particular car, but it's time for me to hand over the reins to Mr. Mirigi, who's a resident tech expert, and of course going to give you a lowdown of the MBUX system, which we first saw at Frankfurt Motor Show a couple of years back, and now we're going to dive deep into it and see what it does to enhance practicality of you while driving in the Mercedes A-Class. And then we're going to move to the back, see the practicality, the boot, and then drive the A-Class sedan only on Cars with Big Boy Trev.
When it comes to technology, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class is now actually one of the leaders when it comes to technology in the Mercedes space. This was not the case until fairly recently, because what used to happen with Mercedes was that the S-Class had the best technology and it filtered down to the rest of the range. But this MBUX system, which we showed you when we went to Frankfurt, actually was first in the A-Class, and it has finally come to Nairobi, and so I'm going to take you through it. So this, of course, now consists of 2 screens which are independent of each other. There's the driver information display over here, which used to be now the normal driver information display with the binnacle that Trevor talks about all the time. And then, of course, now we have this multi-information display on the side. So we're having 10 inches and 12 inches across over here, and this comes standard in every version of the A-Class, whether it's, of course, the hatchback or the sedan, as we're talking over here. So one of the things I like about this system is how versatile it is. It adapts to you, you don't adapt to it. So in terms of interacting with the system, you can use one of the touch displays that we have on the steering wheel over here. So like I say all the time, allows you to keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. So the left button over here is for this screen, the right button is for the one in the middle. This is also a touch screen. You also have voice commands, and you have a touchpad over here because, like Trevor had mentioned, they moved the gear selector from the middle over here to a stalk on the side over here, leaving this space open. That allows you to have a big touchpad. That is something that you're very familiar with because the name of the game here is millennials. This car has been built for the young people. It is for us. It's not for the wazes. So it's all about technology. It's all about keeping up with our lives the way we're used to. But let's jump into MBUX so that I can tell you what it has to offer. We touched a bit about it on when we were in Frankfurt, of course. We had a small glimpse of it, but now that it is here in Nairobi, let me take you through it. So what we have, of course, now is it starts with a beautiful display with very nice icons with a new Mercedes-Benz MBUX system, so it's a complete refresh. Nothing has been taken from the old system. It's rip and replace. It's a completely new system, and it is a beautiful thing to use. So what they've done over here is that it is very customizable. You can actually change the icons, change where they need to be. But let's start, of course, now with the multimedia. So it starts with radio. This, of course, has FM radio. No CDs anymore. We are not about that life anymore. So you have FM radio. You have controls for your phone, because you can plug in your phone over here either physically with USB or with Bluetooth. Interesting to note, of course, now in the A-Class and all these new Mercedes-Benz vehicles is that it is USB-C to USB-C, so you're going to need a cable, which they will gladly provide you with, of course, at a car at this price point. Then you move, of course, now to media. Now moving over to comfort, and this, of course, is the reason why somebody buys a Mercedes-Benz. It is the comfort that you have available. Now this has an incredible amount of ambient lighting, more than you are used to in very many cars. So on the dashboard, there are actually two separate strips, and then there are strips on the doors, strips under the chair, strips in the chair at the back, loads of ambient lighting. You have up to 64 million colors that you can set. And in addition to that, you can actually set different combinations of colors. So like on the dashboard over here, the top strip can be red, the bottom strip can be blue. You actually match this car to yourself. Actually, the tagline for the A-Class is that it feels like you. It's all about personalization. So going over here to the next level, we have, of course, now the information about the car itself. So you have a beautiful display showing you, of course, the engine output, the engine torque. You have real-time information about your consumption, and you have real-time information about the vehicle. So stuff that ordinarily you'd have to plug in a diagnostic to check, you can actually see over here in the system itself. Then, of course, now we go to apps. This car by default has both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which gives you the full range of those systems' assistant features. Moving over to the steering wheel, we have, of course, this beautiful leather multifunction steering wheel. And like Trevor had mentioned, of course, it hides a lot of functionality in the steering wheel itself. So on the left side, of course, we have controls that manage the multi-information display over here. So you have a home button, you have a back button, your volume up and down, and then, of course, now you have a button to toggle the voice assistant. So the car itself already has a voice assistant called Hey Mercedes. Then when you plug in the phone, you can have access to either Google Assistant or Siri if you have an Apple device. On the right side of the car, over here of the steering wheel, you have, of course, a home button for this specific system. So you can actually toggle through all of the driver information that you have in the middle over here, including changing each and every one of the settings over here. So cruise control on the left, on the right, multifunction display on the left over here. And of course, let's move over to the air conditioning vents, like I mentioned, which change color when you change them. So you move up to go heat, and it turns red. You move over here down, it turns blue. Functionality that is available in this car is really quite beautiful. Coming down to the back of the A-Class sedan, and I'm sure a lot of people who have seen this car in the internet or in magazines are thinking about just how much space there is at the back here. And as you can see, there's actually quite a lot of space. This seat is set to Trevor's driving position. He's 6'1", I am 5'9", and as you can see, there's just enough space for both my knees and for my feet under the seat over here. It's actually a very comfortable place to sit. Beautiful leather interior, and of course now there's a lot of contours over here, makes it a very comfortable place to sit. As we had mentioned, of course, use of premium materials across this vehicle, so everything that you touch is soft. We have, of course, now this aluminum feel over here on the door handle. Over here at the top over here, we have very premium plastic. Everything that you touch feels good in the hand. Now, in terms of storage, we have additional storage at the back here with 2 more USB points for the people at the back, small storage area at the top over here, and a storage net that anybody who has seen a G-Wagon is very familiar with. That, of course, now is on the back of each of the seats. In the doors, of course, you have a lot of space, enough for a 1-liter bottle. And of course, now we have through loading. So this is actually 40-20-40, so you can open the back over here and have access to the boot if you need that to happen. Now, in terms of safety, of course, we have airbags running all the way to the back over here, and ISOFIX points for child seats, which are available to make sure that you and your family are safe when you're on the move. But in terms of space, again, let's check into the boot to see just how much space this has over the hatchback and for the class. Coming round to the back of the A-Class sedan, and you can see with the new key, you can just press it and it will open. It's not a power tailgate on this version because the A180, but on higher spec versions, you can get a power tailgate. Now it opens to reveal 430 liters of boot capacity, which is 50% more than the hatchback version of the A-Class. Now this does not have a spare tire under here. It actually has a full tire repair kit, including a tire inflator, which is not something that you generally tend to see at this price point. But it's time for us to take this Mercedes on the road for us to see what it feels like as a driving experience.
So guys, we've just seen from the walk around and of course the tons of technology placed on the Mercedes-Benz A-Class sedan, and I can tell you Mercedes have impressed anybody who's a techvile, anybody who loves technology will be impressed with the offering of the MBUX and many other subtle features that makes this particular car an impressive offering for anyone who's young, upwardly mobile and wants to get into the Mercedes family. But it's time for us to see whether this particular Mercedes A-Class sedan fits the bill of being badged a Mercedes-Benz. So let's start with the usual performance, which I love. So basically, this is an A180 sedan. Now, when you say A180 in normal Mercedes nomenclature, it would mean perhaps it's an 1800. No, this particular vehicle is a 1300cc vehicle, and it is turbocharged petrol, 4-cylinder, 16-valve with direct injection. Now, it produces 100 kilowatts, or in BHP terms, 136. And of course 200 newton-meters of torque that is sent to the front wheels courtesy of a 7-speed DCT transmission or 7G. So when you put your foot down on sport mode, this particular vehicle accelerates from 0 to 100. Listen to that, 8.9 seconds before topping out at past 205 kilometers an hour. Now this particular gearbox allows you to explore the full potential of this very peppy engine. So let's start with the platform of this particular A-Class sedan. It is based on Mercedes Transverse platform, where engines are basically front, and of course the drivetrain is front-wheel drive. So it is packaged to enhance that. A vehicle still has that sturdy rigidity that you probably find in any Mercedes-Benz, and of course allows for clever packaging of the gearbox and as well as the drivetrain of the vehicle. So this particular platform allows this car to still exploit the full potential of a Mercedes. That means the tuned suspension. You can actually order this particular car in different sets of engines and suspension. And of course, up front you do have independent suspension, McPherson strut, and at the back you have torsion beam with adjustable variable dampers that allows this car on the higher spec to actually be planted at any given surface. Now let's talk about safety. Critical component in any vehicle. Mercedes-Benz are renowned for safety. These are the pioneers of safety. Bella Barrieni, the legendary safety designer who made crumple zones, who put the first seat belts in vehicles, who put, collapsible steering column. All that knowledge has now been translated in this particular A-Class. So basically, this vehicle has a mix of active and passive safety features to ensure that you remain out of harm's way. So from active front, you have the umbrella ESP, electronic stability control, which basically controls certain aspects like anti-lock braking system, electronic brake force distribution, brake assist, to ensure that you remain safe. When you're in an emergency, you're able to get out of the emergency with ease. But in case all hell breaks loose, then you can rely on the 6 airbags that comes as standard in this particular vehicle, a 5-star sturdy chassis and chassis that allows this particular car to dissipate impact energy away from the passenger cell to ensure that you remain safe. And of course, the primary tool is a safety belt, so make sure you wear a safety belt at any given time. That said, it is important for us to find out what this particular car is all about. Value for money. What are the key players in the segment? Is it the Audi A3 or the BMW 2 Series? Are they able to match with the offering that Mercedes have put on the A-Class sedan, MBUX, all these technology packs, ambient lighting, all that in an entry-level Mercedes-Benz sedan? Let's find out. Join Mirigi and I as we talk about the value for money aspect of the Mercedes A-Class sedan. So ladies and gentlemen, today on Cars with Big Boy Trev, you've been privileged to be in the presence of Mercedes' most accessible vehicle, the Mercedes Class A sedan. And I can tell you Mercedes is speaking the right language to the right people. Tons of technology, Of course, as you can see, the design is perfect and of course still has the attributes of a Mercedes-Benz. It rides properly, it's got performance, and of course, it's safe. But Mr. Mirigi, what are your highlights of this particular Mercedes sedan?
Well, you know, they actually built this car for us. It's a car that was built for millennials. We are actually the target market of this car, and they have come through with the design on the exterior and the fresh, bold design on the interior, including that MBUX system that we checked out in Frankfurt. It actually has been brought for the first time in Mercedes in the A-Class, which is something you don't usually see, because Mercedes usually starts technology on the S-Class and then it filters down to everyone else.
Wow, speaking of that, how much does it cost on the road right here in Kenya?
Well, prices for this car start at 50,900 euro. Now, of course, DTW prices in euro, but today's exchange rate is 133 to the shilling. So this car starts at 6.7 million shillings as of the filming of this show. This, of course, comes with an industry-leading 2-year unlimited kilometer warranty. Now, what this means is for the entire 2 years, doesn't matter how far you go, the warranty is covered. 2 years unlimited kilometer warranty, and DTW is throwing in a 5-year service plan on top of that covers labor and parts.
And also remember, you can rely on DTW's extensive network across the country. So if you're in Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret, Nyeri, be able to maintain your A-Class sedan with ease. But finally, Mr. Mirigi, we know that this particular car exists in a segment where there's competition. Right now in our country, which vehicle can compete with the A-Class sedan?
Now, this is an interesting thing because it's a compact executive saloon, but it's a small compact executive saloon. In fact, in the Mercedes stable, it starts with this, the A-Class sedan, then it goes to the CLA, and then it goes to the C-Class. So in our market at the moment, there's actually nothing that competes with this specific vehicle. So just like it says in the badge, it is the best or nothing. But if you're considering the competition from across the world, we are looking, of course, at the BMW 2 Series sedan and the Audi A3 sedan, which play in this specific space, compact executive small sedans.
So guys, do you reckon the Mercedes A-Class sedan is far much better as compared to the competition? Please let us know on the social media handles that's seen below. But before we wrap it up, how do we catch Cars with Big Boy Trev after the show?
Well, this specific show is going to be streaming on our YouTube channel immediately this ends on KTN. So just search for Cars with Big Boy Trev or CBBT on YouTube. We're also available on all social media handles, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for CBBT or Cars with Big Boy Trev.
Well, signing out, this is Big Boy Trev.
This is Mirigi. Drive safe
and be safe.